Welcome back to the deep dive where we cut through all that extra stuff and get right to the good stuff.
That's right.
Today, um, we are diving deep into sales incentives,
Ooh, excited.
which is, I think, a topic that everybody listening is going to be very, very interested in,
For sure. For sure.
especially if you are leading sales and revenue teams.
Absolutely.
We've got a stack of insights here from Meet Record
Awesome.
talking about all the common traps that businesses fall into when they're designing their incentive programs.
Yeah.
And more importantly, how to avoid them.
That's the important part.
I'm Ron, your host for this deep dive.
And I'm Nova. I specialize in helping companies build those high-performing sales teams, and I'm really excited to unpack all these incentive strategies with you.
So Nova, let's just, set the stage here.
Okay.
What are we even talking about when we
Yeah.
say sales incentives?
So at its core, it's really anything that motivates a salesperson to hit those targets.
Okay.
So we're talking about your classic commissions, bonuses, but also things like extra time off,
Okay.
travel perks awards, or even just, a shout out at a company meeting.
Right.
It's about creating a system that rewards and recognizes the behaviors that drive success for your business.
Okay, so we've got kind of like this toolbox
Yeah,
of, financial and non-financial incentives.
that's right.
And I'm guessing most companies are already using at least some of these tools.
Yeah, most definitely.
So what's the big deal then?
Okay, so the big deal, Ron, is that a lot of companies are using these tools ineffectively.
Interesting.
And they fall into these common traps that hinder performance and create frustration within the sales team.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these traps.
All right, let's do it.
What's the first one we should be aware of?
One of the biggest pitfalls I see is overly complex compensation structures.
Okay.
Think about it if your sales reps are scratching their heads,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how their pay is calculated. How can they be truly motivated by it?
Makes sense.
Eh.
I remember reading about Sarah in the Meet Record article. She
Yeah.
was like a top performer.
Yeah, she was.
But she was spending hours trying to decipher her pay statement
Oh, yeah?
because of all the different commission rates and bonuses and team targets.
Yes, all that craziness.
And it was actually demotivating her.
Yeah, that's a classic example. And the solution there is simplicity.
Okay.
Design clear, customized plans that are easy for everyone to understand and track.
So ditch the convoluted spreadsheets.
Yes, please.
Opt for something more streamlined.
Absolutely.
I like it. What's the next trap?
Another common mistake is creating rigid incentive programs
Okay.
that don't adapt to market changes, new product launches, or seasonality.
Right.
We need to remember that the business landscape is constantly evolving.
Yeah, for sure.
And our incentive structures need to be flexible enough to keep pace.
It's like trying to navigate a winding road with a steering wheel that's locked in place.
Oh, I like that.
You're not going to get very far.
Exactly. And in today's fast-paced environment, agility is key.
So how do we build in that flexibility?
So I think we can both agree that clinging to the same old commission structure
Yeah,
when you launch a brand new product line just doesn't make sense.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the solution here?
All right, so first, you need the right mindset. Be willing to constantly evaluate and adjust your incentives based on company priorities and external factors.
Okay.
And second, you need the right tools.
Okay.
Ditch those outdated spreadsheets and embrace technology that allows you to make changes quickly and efficiently.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, this brings us to another critical point, I think,
Yeah.
that often gets overlooked.
Yes.
The importance of aligning incentives with your overall revenue strategy.
You hit the nail on the head, Ron. It's not enough to just throw incentives out there.
Right.
We need to make sure they're driving the behaviors that actually support our company objectives.
So I'm picturing Anne from the Meet Record article,
Yes.
who was so focused on selling familiar products with higher commissions that she completely missed the boat on the company's new product launch,
Totally.
even though the company was pushing for it hard.
That's precisely what happens when incentives are misaligned. You
Yeah.
end up with a sales team that's working at cross purposes with your overall business goals.
Yeah.
It's like having everyone rowing in different directions.
Right.
You're not going to get very far.
So how do we avoid this pitfall?
Okay, so it all comes down to data and revenue intelligence.
Okay.
We need to leverage platforms like Meet Record to gain insights into our sales pipelines, team performance, and market trends.
Okay.
This data allows us to design targeted incentives that reward the behaviors that truly matter.
So instead of just relying on gut feeling or outdated assumptions,
Please no.
we're using data to inform our decisions and create a more strategic approach to incentives.
Exactly.
I like it.
It's about being smart and intentional with our incentives, making sure they're aligned with our revenue goals and driving the outcomes that matter most.
This is really eye-opening, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
There's so much more to uncover about these common incentive mistakes and how to fix them.
Definitely a lot more to come.
Stay tuned.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
See you soon. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about, the timing of rewards.
Okay.
When was the last time you got really excited about a bonus
Yeah.
that was months away?
Yeah, right? I see
Yeah.
what you're getting at.
Yeah,
The further out the reward is, the
Yeah.
less motivating it becomes.
exactly. That's why infrequent payouts are another major pitfall.
Oh,
A lot of companies stick to these annual or even quarterly bonuses,
right.
which reduces the psychological impact
Yeah.
and can actually contribute to higher turnover.
Oh, wow. So we should be rewarding our sales teams more frequently,
Yes.
even if the amounts are smaller.
Precisely. Think about it. Which scenario is more motivating, getting a $10,000 bonus once a year
Yeah.
or receiving smaller bonuses more frequently throughout the year? Frequent rewards, even small ones, create a culture of recognition
Right.
and keep those motivation levels high.
Okay.
It's about celebrating those milestones along the way.
Yeah, it's like those loyalty programs that give you points for every purchase.
Yes.
They keep you engaged because you feel like you're constantly making progress towards something.
Perfect analogy. Now, remember how we talked about financial versus non-financial incentives?
Yeah.
Neglecting those non-monetary rewards is another mistake we see all the time.
Yeah, you can't just throw cash at people and expect them to be truly happy and engaged.
You got it. Things like extra time off,
Okay.
travel opportunities, special awards, or even just personalized recognition.
Right.
These gestures show your team that you value them as individuals, not just as revenue generators.
So it's about fostering a more holistic,
Yep.
Performance-driven culture.
Yes.
Where people feel appreciated and motivated to go the extra mile.
Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked but is absolutely crucial:
Okay.
communication. Communication breakdowns can be a nightmare in any situation,
Yeah,
but especially when it comes to something as sensitive as compensation.
for sure.
And one of the biggest pitfalls I see is a lack of clear communication and dispute resolution processes
Right.
around incentives.
Yeah, that can create a lot of frustration and distrust.
Absolutely.
If sales reps don't understand how their incentives are calculated, or if there's no clear process for addressing discrepancies,
Right.
it can damage morale and, really impact performance.
I recall a story of May from the Meat Record articles.
Oh, yeah.
She was a top performer,
Uh-huh.
but she was constantly battling with her company to resolve discrepancies in her commission payments.
Oh.
It was eating into her valuable selling time and making her question her worth.
That's a terrible situation. That sounds like a recipe for losing your best people.
It absolutely is. So
Yep.
how do we fix this communication gap?
Yeah. How do we do it?
Open and honest dialogue between sales and finance is key.
Okay.
Dedicated resources for clarification, regular check-ins, and even automated systems that provide real-time visibility into earnings
Right.
can make a huge difference in building trust and transparency.
Transparency is key. I'm writing that down.
Hmm.
What else do we need to think about when it comes to building a really great incentive program?
Last but not least, we need to avoid the one-size-fits-all trap.
Okay.
Every sales role is different,
Right.
and using the same incentive structure for everyone,
Yeah.
regardless of their specific responsibilities and contributions, is a recipe for disaster.
Makes sense. We wouldn't expect a heart surgeon to have the same skills as a concert pianist.
Exactly.
So why would we expect all salespeople to be motivated by the same incentives?
Exactly. Each role has its own unique demands and contributions.
Right.
SDRs, AEs, BDRs, sales team leads, they all play different parts in the sales orchestra,
Yeah.
and their incentives should reflect that.
It reminds me of Manson, the sales team lead from the article.
Yeah.
He felt undervalued because his incentives were tied to closed deals.
Mhm.
Even though his primary focus was coaching and team development,
Yeah.
it was like judging the conductor based on the performance of the entire orchestra.
That's a great analogy. Tailoring incentives based on role product line geography, seniority, and even individual performance goals is
Yeah.
essential for creating a truly motivating and equitable system.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here,
I
Nova.
have.
What would you say are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Okay.
What are the most important things they should remember about designing, effective sales incentive programs?
Well, I think first and foremost, don't treat incentives like they're an afterthought.
Right.
They're a really powerful tool
Yeah.
for driving performance and building a really thriving team culture.
And to really harness that power, we need to avoid those common pitfalls that we've been talking about.
Right. We need to prioritize simplicity, transparency, build in flexibility,
Uh-huh.
align those incentives with company goals,
Yeah.
reward frequently, and recognize that, money isn't always the only motivator.
And we also need to remember that every individual is unique
Absolutely.
and tailor those incentives to match their specific roles and contributions.
It's about creating a win-win situation where everyone feels valued, recognized, and driven to succeed.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
I agree.
I'm already thinking about, how we can apply all this stuff to our own sales team.
That's great to hear. I mean, it's exciting to see how these ideas can actually make a real difference in how businesses approach sales motivation.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
Incentives aren't just about throwing money at your sales team.
Right.
It's about understanding what really motivates each individual
Okay.
and creating a system that aligns those motivations with your company's goals.
And with, all the advancements in data and technology,
Right.
we have way more tools than ever to make those incentive programs truly effective and personalized.
Exactly. So what can our listeners do today to start putting these ideas into practice?
That's a great question. What's your advice?
Start by having a conversation with your sales team.
Okay.
Ask them what motivates them, what frustrates them about the current incentive structure,
Yeah.
and what kind of recognition they really value.
Get that feedback loop going
Yes.
and use it to build a more transparent, motivating, and rewarding system for everybody.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
There are a ton of resources and technologies out there, like those platforms we discussed,
Yeah.
that can help you gather data, design personalized plans and manage those incentives efficiently.
This has been an awesome deep dive into the world of sales incentives.
It has.
I know I've learned a ton, and I hope our listeners have too.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
Likewise.
And remember, a motivated sales team is a powerful force.
It is.
So go out there and create an incentive program that unleashes their full potential.
Until next time,
Yeah.
happy selling, everyone.